Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Richard Miner. I'm the Graduate Engagement Officer here at One Spirit Learning Alliance in New York City. And today it is my tremendous pleasure to be here with Reverend Ingrid Scott. Ingrid, thank you for joining me.
Hello, Richard. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Ingrid, you are a graduate of the class of 2010, and you're currently a doctoral graduate at New York Theological Seminary. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you to One Spirit?
Yes, I figured that I was already doing God's work in the world and didn't need the title. But as the universe will have it will have its own way eventually. So back in 2007, I was at a friend's 50th birthday, and she asked me if I would do grace, which I did. And people kept coming up to me and asking me if I was a minister and did I have a church somewhere. Well, it only takes so many times people telling you the same thing when you start paying attention. And I used to see One Spirit advertised in Science of Mind. And so I decided, well, if I was going to do it, they would be the people, because I loved the advert, which was the tree reflected in the lake. And when I finally made the decision, they'd stopped advertising. So I Googled Interfaith and came up with the sister school in England. And I was like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. And so I just kind of put it back out to the universe. Well, if this is what you want me to do, then you best find me the people with the tree. And so lo and behold, the following month, they came back advertising, and I called up and said, I'd like to come and be interviewed. And that's how it started.
That's wonderful. What an amazing experience. We hear stories like that a lot, these serendipitous events that bring people to One Spirit. Tell me a little bit about your ministry, what drew you to it, and what you've been doing with that.
Well, I've separated myself from organized religion and church since 1996. I went off to do my own thing, to find God wherever. And so for me, it was a case of, I recognized, just as I had gone off to find my connection, my personal relationship with the divine, I knew a lot of other people were doing the same thing, and that people didn't necessarily need a church building with which to know God. And so I started what I call my virtual e-community by a conference call. So people would come together on a Sunday morning, send out the notice the day before and a theme about what we're going to be talking about. And my ministry was born. And so it would be, there'd be opening music, there'd be a meditation, there'd be prayer, there'd be a message, there'd be a story, there'd be joint affirmations and a closing benediction and a closing piece of music. So much the same as you would if you went somewhere, but all under 45 minutes or so.
That sounds really, really beautiful. Now, you are working on a doctorate thesis right now, and part of that project has involved a really, really unusual project you're working on now. Can you tell me about that and what it entails?
Yes, following on from that, when you're doing a doctorate, you have to identify what you see as the problem within your community. And I identified the problem that people were leaving church. The polls, certainly in the US, are the same in the UK, show roughly around 25% identifying as SBNRs, spiritual but not religious, or nuns, NONES, none of the above, or religiously unaffiliated. And I recognized that people weren't necessarily leaving God, but they were leaving organized religious institutions. And I thought, well, how can you help them connect with the sacred? And my teacher said that we were to love God, love our neighbor, and love ourselves. What I call the try, love, inclusivist approach. And I thought, what about creating an app that could help them do that? And so I've created an app called the Awaken app, which starts off with the invitation to a self-examination. So you look at how you're feeling emotionally. Then you go on to do something for the others, that's the we. And that's small favors, give up your seat on the train or the bus, or, check in on your neighbor, or make coffee for the office for the day. Something small, but just engage you to recognize we belong to one another. And then my final is to connect to the sacred, which is the all, through three different means: secular practices, specific emotional LGBTQ practices, or multi-faith practices. And everything is under 5 minutes. And the idea is that I'm not trying to cure anybody or fix anybody, but saying, even if you take 5 minutes out of your busy day, you can have a better understanding of yourself, you can connect with someone else, and have a relationship with the divine.
This sounds like that would be a really useful app for anyone on any kind of spiritual path at this point. If any of our listeners are interested in getting the app, where would they be able to find it?
It's currently on the App Store, on Apple. I've brought it out first on the iOS devices, and once I'm happy with everything is perfect, then I'll look to bring it out on Android. I had it launched at the Parliament of World Religions this month, it's still in November, and the amount of people that came up, different therapists and nurses who said this would be great for their clients, for their patients, teachers coming up to say their pupils had told them to come and see me and how they were going to use it with their other pupils who wanted to share it with other friends. So yeah, it's not limited for just people on a spiritual path. It's for everyone and anyone.
And what is the name of the app?
Awaken.
Awaken. So go to the App Store, do a search for Awaken, and the app will come up.
Yep. And look for it's a white sort of spiral sun on a purple background. That's the one you're looking for. If you see purple, you'll know it's me.
Well, Ingrid, as you've been pursuing this work, can you tell me what have been the greatest gifts that you've received on this journey?
Oh, to being a vessel for spirit to use, to have people acknowledge that something you've shared with them or you've done has inspired them or inspires them, and to see that how God can use someone like me who never saw herself as anything but the black sheep of the family. So yeah, if God can use me, God can use anybody.
Well, Ingrid, God is certainly making good use of you. You are doing wonderful work in the world. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your tremendously busy schedule to share your work with us and your experience. And to let you know that I'm just so grateful that you were part of my journey as well.
God bless you. Thank you.
And I wish you the best of luck with your thesis. And I will look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you, Richard. And God bless to all One Spirit family.